What up, y'all? It's Season Love, SCN-LUV, that's who I be. And welcome to another episode of the Money Healing Monologues. Over here at the Money Healing Monologues, I like to open up a space to speak about the development of Black wealth, health, and excellence. So, join me every single Monday where I like to dissect, reiterate, and reteach some topics that I just think that us as a Black community should talk about. Let's get straight into this episode. Episode 9. We're up to today. We are talking about persistence. So, as you know, I like to do this in who, what, where, when, and why format. So we're just gonna go down the line and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna see what's a guan. The purpose of this podcast is to open up a space for us to speak about this. So please feel free to comment down below, ask any questions, comments, concerns. Let me know what you think. Send it to your mama, tell her, comment what she thinks. This is to shift perspectives. Well, let's first talk about what persistence is. Persistence, I feel like in the Black community looks like endurance, pushing through regardless of what your mind, body, and soul is telling you. Persistence in trying to integrate ourselves within the Caucasian community and other communities as well, despite all of the hardships and things that Black people go through. I think that now in this day and age there's still this strong persistence to work, to live, and just to do and to maintain this white man's fantasy, like I like to call it. And I personally think that it's out of fear. I feel like Black people have been scared to congregate and get together and do our own things because of the fear of being conquered over again. We haven't always been in the most uplifting and loving spaces when it comes to the Black community and any other community. You know, we face a lot of discrimination. We face a lot of mistreatment. And I just think that this persistence that we have as a community is, as of right now, directed in the wrong places. Who does this specifically affect? I think that it ultimately affects the children, because where we as adults and young adults direct our attention will somehow, in some way, shape, or form, affect the next generation. And I think that, you know, like my parents' persistence and our parents, you know, if you're in Generation Z, our parents' persistence in, you know, working to live and hustling in order to get basic necessities, which is, you know, we don't blame them. And you can't blame our parents and your parents. You can't blame your parents for the things that they've done to get to where they are now, because they had to do it. They had to do what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? They were reacting off of the circumstances that were put in front of them. So just like it's not our fault, we didn't ask to be here, ultimately they didn't ask to be here either, especially in the time that they grew up. However, with that being said, all of that attention and all of that persistence being poured into integrating ourselves with the white community, because like I said in another episode, I feel like we're the only minority community that doesn't really have our own spaces, our own things, like the Jewish community in Chinatown. When it comes to persistence, it's definitely a generational thing that's being passed down. I believe it's stopping with Generation Z, honestly, because we're not afraid to face our battles and, you know, talk about the hard shit and actually heal from the shit that our parents ran away from. Let's get into the what. What does persistence do? I feel like persistence puts us in this really uncomfortable predicament to feel like we have to live like this. Our persistence plays a big part in maintaining this white man's fantasy that we all live in today. This persistence that the Black community has to endure and keep going regardless of the circumstances helps keep us stuck. It keeps us complacent, I feel like, even more in the things that we think are good for us. The things that we've been taught are good for us but are actually detrimental to our growth as a community. You know what I mean? I think that all Black people should reevaluate the things that they're doing. You know what I mean? The places that they're working, the situations and experiences that occur in their life, not only for the greater good as a community, but for yourself as an individual. You know what I'm saying? I think that we've just been taught, as people, to just keep going and pursue, just go regardless of the circumstances that are around us. You know what I mean? And I think that's unhealthy. Where do we see this persistence take place? I believe we see it take place in the US specifically, I'm speaking about, and just actually it can be on a global scale. After times and times again of the government showing us that they do not give a fuck about our lives. You know what I mean? Like, we see black people get killed on camera, like, very, very frequently. And somehow in our brains, we are still convinced that we have to endure working and living and all of this, even though the government that is supposed to be, protecting us and helping us live a better life is literally killing us and setting laws in place in order to make that legal and make it okay. So I wonder what the blockage is in black people, because we can be a community all we want, but what makes the community is us as an individual. So in each of our individual minds, I think that there's some type of blockage that stops us from seeing the truth for what it is, which is, they don't give a fuck about us, I'm weak, and feeling the, I want to say, emptiness that comes with not doing anything. We don't have to live the way that we live, and once we take out this need to persist and endure in this lifetime, I think that would create this emptiness within us that we shouldn't be afraid of. And I think that we might all be afraid of this emptiness because we just had to fill up that space with endurance and the strength to keep going. Like this armor is very heavy, you know what I mean? And it weighs us down as we go along life in this system. I wonder what it would look like when black people decide to stop altogether. Like, no more. Just like most things, and just like most of these topics that we speak about, things always stem back to our days as enslaved people. I think that, being beaten, watching our children like be killed right in front of us, all of these traumatizing things that the black community has endured. We've become numb to our own pain, I feel like. We've become numb to our own suffering. So we don't even realize that we're suffering because we've been taught to be okay with the bare minimum. And the bare minimum is literally just surviving. And most black people have already struggled to do just that. When we all decide and we all choose to not accept certain things and not embody certain energies like, endurance. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have to do anything, genuinely. You know what I mean? There's enough of us, black people, for us to literally stop the economy. And I think that we underestimate how powerful we are in numbers. Finally, the why. Why should we reiterate persistence for ourselves? Because we don't have to work as hard as we do. We actually deserve rest and peace. I just genuinely believe that this endurance that we have, this armor that we have, it's weighing us down. It's detrimental to our growth as a community and keeps us in these cycles with, the privileged community. It keeps us integrated with them because we've heard the infamous Martin Luther King speeches of, togetherness and love, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of us, not saying that we're wrong for choosing love and deciding to have grace, you know what I mean? And deciding to be integrated with the white community. But I think that this, day by day, I believe that it further dilutes the black culture, the essence of blackness. We stray further and further away from our roots by trying to live the same way that they do, or trying to fight for even the same rights and privileges that they have. You know what I'm saying? There's a need for us to stray away and live how we want to live and build a community and build a life, build our own spaces how we want to live. We have that choice, and I think that it's time we start exercising, because persisting and enduring through things that aren't even good for us or aren't even helping us grow is so counterproductive, in my opinion. The question for the how for this episode: how do you, as an individual, view persistence in your life? What does persistence look like for you in your life? And why do you persist? So I want you to let me know what persistence looks like for you in your life. And I want to know the reason why you decide to persist and keep going. That's the question for the how. It will be underneath this video in the description if you're listening to this on YouTube, and it will be, here under this podcast if you're listening to it on either Anchor or Spotify. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Money Healing Monologues. I really appreciate you, and I genuinely hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to interact, like, subscribe, follow, share it with a friend, as this podcast is to build awareness and help us as a Black community come together, and become one and reiterate certain things for us so that we can be better for ourselves and our community. I will see you guys in the next episode, where I will be speaking about stereotypes. Peace. I'll see you guys next time. I love you.